Hey, good morning guys. Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. Take a look at this. This is his pride and joy. Now what I should have done is check the kilometres to be more precise before I started the video, but I didn't because it's in a bit of a hurry. You know, we've got to get these things done. What I want to point out is this vehicle, like many Prado owners, it's his or her pride and joy. He takes great care of it. It's nice and clean. It's a 2015 150 Prado, last of the best. Not everything here is 100% the way I'd like it. You could probably might spot something throughout the video or a couple of things. I'm just going to run through a few mistakes that have been made. The vehicle's been elsewhere. I'm going to tell you where it's been. It's been to Central 4x4, and funnily enough, we've got another vehicle here at the same time in the workshop, which we'll also probably probably have a look at in this video. We worked on it, I reckon, 4 or 5 years ago, and fixed up the monumental mistakes and stuff ups. I can show you. I've still got the container of wrong nuts and bolts. It had a cracked valve cover, all sorts of things. Then I spoke to the original owner, because it was a new owner at the time. Spoke to the original owner to find some history on it, and the stories just went on and on. So look, I'll tell you straight, you really need to be careful where you go. Things may have changed. This vehicle, the injectors were probably unnecessarily replaced. That's what this is about, guys. You know, I don't like waste. If there's something that is more important than changing your injectors and preventing, you know, cracked pistons and stuff like that, the best maintenance, it's not replacing them, not worrying about it, replacing things when you don't need to. So this is really important to understand. So we're going to go through quite a few things in this video, including a quick part of the diagnostic, and we're going to go for a drive, what to listen to and how to listen. Do you listen with the window up, the window down? You're not necessarily going to hear it, but we're going to try. I'm going to set that camera up on the windscreen the way we normally do, and I'm going to try and explain what I'm listening for and what's normal and what's not. So we'll get to that. First thing I want to say at the moment here, 2015, I think it's done about 80 or 90, or is it set? It's not a lot. It's under 100,000. We'll nut that out by the end of the video. We'll give you that answer on that. So 2015, the injectors should have never been replaced, in my opinion, from the information I've been given so far. So we've had the vehicle for a couple of days. The story goes, it's got a really bad knock. Apparently it's intermittent. Owner seemed worried about it, so obviously he did his research and he thought he did the right thing going there. And I'm going to show you, you know, we're only assuming, but it's based on, look, there's been a number of vehicles come from that place with very similar damage, repairs and things not done right, if you know what I mean. So bada bing, there you go. If you've changed, good, and if you haven't, well, it's what it is. So, you know, basically take a bit more careful who you let in your workshop working on cars. And you know, so basically the things I want to point out on this vehicle are, so it went in there, they replaced the injectors at whatever it was, about a year ago, not many Ks ago. I don't know exactly, and it might have been, I should have got the Ks, shouldn't I? I know exactly, but it's not a lot of Ks, right? It's under 100,000. The injectors were replaced without replacing the fuel pipes, of course. Now, I can't see the whole job without redoing the whole job. I've seen the whole job before and it ain't pretty, so let's hope this one's better. But without going too deep, these are the things that, as my understanding is, nobody's worked on it since, and this is the things related to the injector job that I can see, and you may even see them and pick them in the video so far. Right now, this is not fixing everything. I'm not fixing everything right now. I'm pointing out a few things. I may fix a couple of things, and there may be more things, okay? But I just want to point out a couple of things, and you might think I'm a bit fussy with a couple of things, but there's no need for it, okay? There's a clip quite obviously sitting here, right? Now, the owner was in front of me when I pointed that out, okay? So, it's absolute. How could you not remember and be so obvious to just clip that in like that? No, it didn't just pop out on its own. They don't just pop out. They're quite difficult. You've got to release the clip at each side. Same as these ones here. We undo the zip tie because you can't get the clip out. There's no hole to release it. But look at this. You give it a bit of a, well, the other, I went like that and it just came out, which means, you know, it's been yanked out. We're not going to do it again. We don't want to damage it. Now, let's take a quick look over this side. See these grey clamps here that you undo to lift the wiring loom when you do the injectors? The wiring loom's been bent up quite badly. It's not even, it should be sitting down like that, but part of the reason, see that clamp there? There's a clamp there that's meant to be around this wire here, so that's not even secured there. You know, without even going deep, guys, you know, just sitting there on the surface, we're seeing things like that. So if we see things like that that are so obvious in a final check, you know, standing here, if we worked on this vehicle, it's just not going to happen, because you do your double, triple checks as you go so it doesn't happen. But at the end, I'm going to stand here and go over the whole job, everything I've done, every vacuum line, I'm going to go, yep, clamps, got that here. And it just, you're not going to let it get out the door with two really obvious problems like that. So, not happy, Jan. It's not a big deal, right? So let's not make a big deal about a small, but what I'm saying is, we've seen these things before from these places, not there alone, other places as well, but we've seen a number of them there, enough that I'm going to, you know, mention the name because it's what it is, so I don't care, okay? It's what it is. We've got the evidence, we've got the bucket of bolts, we've got the owners, their names, numbers, they'll come and give evidence, whatever you like, right? It's what it is. So I've seen it, they've seen it, there's a number of witnesses to it. Now, this is a 2015, guys, mate. This is a baby, this is like untouched, you know what I mean? I'll tell you, it hasn't even been on an outback trip. I can tell by how clean it is, all dressed up with nowhere to go, you know. It's getting ready for a trip, let's say, you know, one day when we're allowed out of Victoria. But the other thing that I note is, obviously they did a manifold clean and they've taken some hoses off, and you might not be able to see from there, but here there's a hose clamp and here there's a hose clamp, okay? I don't know if you can see that one in the video, but it doesn't matter. Take my word for it. I think you can see it. Yeah, you can see it, right? There it is, right? See that hose clamp there? Hose clamps don't belong on these vehicles, okay? Did they bust this? Yeah, at least they didn't bust that. Hose clamps don't belong on these vehicles, okay? They're automatic self-tensioning clamps that make the vehicle and the hoses last, excuse me, COVID-19 again, hundreds of thousands of Ks, guys, these hoses. I've got the other vehicle here, it's done over 400,000 Ks, right? We've brought it back from the wreckers, brought it back from the dead over the years. We haven't seen it a lot because we've trained the owner to do a lot of his own servicing, as we do you, but he does take it to either 4x4 Diesel Workshop recommended repairers or to us. It's here at the moment. I haven't seen it for years, but we're bringing it back from the dead, okay? We brought it back 80% at the first visit. It was massive, the amount of damage, you know, cracked valve covers, nuts and bolts and clamps missing, all sorts of things all over the place, right, that weren't right. As a repair or workshop, in my opinion, it's your responsibility as the last person to work on it to make sure these things are right. So I didn't do that, but that's going to be right. That's already right, right? Those clamps, look, I don't keep those clamps in stock. I've never purchased one. I've never needed to replace it. Why would you do that? But I'm going to recommend to the owner that they get replaced. So whether he wants to leave the car and we order the clamps, because I don't know if there's stock available type thing or whatever, and I don't want to lose coolant over it. This is the thing, you know. The problem with those clamps is they're ugly, they're untidy, they could be over tightened. The self-tensioning ones work much better, you know, like this type over here, right? There's nothing wrong with them, mate. They just work perfect. No need to change them. If you take the hose off, you put it back on exactly, put the hose exactly how it was and the clamp exactly how it was, take an extra few seconds and you just won't have an issue. Now at the moment, obviously, to change the clamp, I'm going to have to, I can take those clamps off, but I can't put the self-tension without taking the hose. I'm going to lose coolant. It's going to make a mess. So we're not going to do it at the moment. I think it's the best advice I'm going to give. This video is not about what we're going to do there, but we want to probably, it's up to the owner if he wants to do that. But next time the coolant gets done, I'm going to recommend putting those clamps back on and possibly even replacing those hoses, because I can see they've been over tightened. Right, it's going to be two hoses, 1, 2, not a big deal. If the coolant's out anyway, whatever, you know what I mean? And it might be worth looking at the coolant, because if they've had those hoses off, that means they've refilled it, and what did they use, you know? Look, it looks good. I'll say it looks good, so credit where credit's due, but who knows, it could be some other product that looks about the same, because there is other products that look about the same, that probably are about the same, so we're not going to bag other brands. So my point here is, the original concern was some knocking noises. Now we spent thousands of dollars to get injectors replaced, I think maybe unnecessarily, and some possible damage to be done to the vehicle. It's not factory anymore. Did they clean the seats? You know, we don't know. There's a whole lot of questions there that we don't know the answer to at the moment. So do you waste money and redo the job, or do you just think and hope that it'll be okay? It should be okay. No, it should be, and it probably should be okay. And that's the way I'd like to roll, but I've seen it before. I've heard the stories, you know, the fuel return line under the valve cover leaking numerous times. One guy got sold a turbo, right, before they worked out that's what it was. So it cost him another $3,000 or whatever a turbo before they were, back in there again. It's not the only time it's happened. I've got all the names of all these people that have told me. It's fact. Got to be careful where you go, guys, all right? You've really got to be careful, and that's why I'm going to teach you everything I can. I'm going to give you the recommended workshop repairers, right? If I think they're okay, even if I suspect, I reckon they're okay, but they've got to contact me. If they watch the videos, which anyone that wants to get educated, keep educated, I specialise in these. I probably know a little bit more about them than the average mechanic, diesel technician, diesel fitter, whatever. So it's wise for them to be watching to learn. And if they watch this and they own a workshop, they manage a workshop, or they work in a workshop where they know, they're confident to contact me, they know how I roll, they watch the videos and say, look, where you guys? I will speak to them, I'll interview them, I'll try and suss it out. I can only do the best I can over the phone. And then we're going to send some work there, small jobs perhaps at first. Let's suss it out, let's see what they're like, you know, you report back to me, it's teamwork, we work together. Anyway, that's how it works. When we get a chance, we do go and see them, we meet them. We do a surprise visit, we turn up, check out their work, see if they've got it sitting there with the pipes bent off like this, you know, then it'll be, that's where things change. You've got to be subscribed, right? You've got to be on the VIP group, because that's where the latest information, don't go here anymore, okay? If we don't talk about it, if we're not talking about it, it's basically bad news. We try not to talk bad news. Sometimes we have to, like this, to demonstrate the importance of going to the right place. Now, moving forward, we're going to hope that everything's okay here. We're going to use our free insurance of checking the oil pickup every time in case there's issues. But these seats are that good, these copper seats, and these guys have done heaps of these injectors. I'm hoping that it was good enough that we don't have to go in and do the job again. And if we do at this stage, I wouldn't be replacing the injectors again. And it looks fairly clean, so I'm not too nervous about going in there again, but I don't want to. I don't need to chase money. It's not about money. I do okay, we're fine. It's about helping and giving the right advice. So what we've done so far here is, so he's concerned about the knock. I said, look, by the sounds of everything you said, I can't give an opinion over the phone. Get the vehicle to me, please. Here it is. It's going to be here for the week at least. So far I've done 2 cold start tests. Now if I do a cold start test, you're straight away thinking I'm plugging in the scan tool, right? Wrong. No, I've started up cold, let it run for 20 seconds, and then I've driven out. I've driven gently, slowly on a cold engine, because I want to hear what noises it's making. Is it making knocking, pre-detonation pinging type noises, or is it just normal rattle, clacky type stuff they do sometimes? And they don't all do it, but some do. And what I've heard so far from 2 cold start tests is I'm happy. There's not an issue that I've heard so far. And I'm going to take you on the 3rd, and then we're going to maybe talk about, have a look at the other vehicle as well that's been to the same place, and talk about some of the issues there. Or then again, we might not waste the time, because it makes me feel sick, and I've talked about it before in other videos, so it doesn't really matter too much. So I'll say at this point, we're going to spend enough time to be sure, to be fairly sure. I'd rather spend, let's say I'd rather spend a couple $100 or so in time, in diagnostic time, right? And drive it a few times cold, a diagnostic a few times cold, to make sure, because we did have another one, a 2015, if you remember recently, it had a knock in it. He brought it in warm, nothing on the diagnostic, drove it, nothing. Once it was warm, it was fine. But when it was cold, it did have a knock in it. And it wasn't until months later when we got it again, it was in for other work, and I got to start it and drive it cold and do a cold diagnostic. Just by chance, I thought, well, I'll check it while it's here. It's wise whenever you're doing a service to check it. But as I've said in videos, you can't rely on it. It will say, all the numbers in these 150 Prados and similar, they will look okay when things are not necessarily okay. But if they're not okay, then they're not okay. So in the case with the other one, it was probably the valve clearance check. The pipes were bent. After we did the injector job, we can confirm the pipes had been bent, so they'd been at before. They bend the pipes, the dirt falls in, they do what they're doing, chuck it back together, and then you've got your problem, right? Knock, 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 hello. Right, so you can't do that. Risk of contamination's way too high. This is the problem where people are having, oh, you know, those cars with injector problems. It's not injector problems. It's people are the problem. You've got to do the right work. You got to prevent things, preventative maintenance, right? Again, I'm going to say it again. Yeah, it's my favorite thing. You've got to be careful where you go and who you let touch these things. It's as simple as that, right? It's really important. So So with the other one, eventually we got to the end of it. So I don't want to check this once and say, yeah, mate, you know, I'm just not saying I'm not a $50 guy, but yeah, it's $50. See ya, you know, it's all good. And then it's not all good, right? I'd rather spend the time where it's due, you know, and make sure. So we're going to check it a few times. It's short bits of time here or there, you know, 10, 15, 20 minutes here or there. It's going to add up to an hour or two, and then fix up a few clips, you know. There's probably only a couple hours labour charge on it, but hopefully he gets the vehicle back and he's happy. Now, after we speak about it, you know, maybe over time he'll get nervous and he'll want to pop the injectors out and back in again to make sure all the seats are clean. Maybe that's something that's going to happen. I don't know. That's not my decision. I can only give the information as I see it. But you know, if it had been somewhere better, you know, on a positive note, they've done a lot of them. I know they've done a lot of them. Okay, so, but the problem is, and I've been there, I've spoken to him, so I can tell you straight. I'm not gonna put a name on the person just to be nice, but he's a liar, mate. He just lies through his teeth to me. So, and I know for a fact that it was lies. So, you know, it's a bad start. In business, the first thing you want to do is be honest, and that way you get the trust. Just give genuine information and you'll be successful. Explain it clearly, like what we're doing now. If you do this with your clients, if you understand things, you can fix things. If you explain things, they understand, everybody's happy. Right, I reckon we need to go for a drive, so let's do that. Alright guys, so I've decided, because we've driven it cold already, the wise move on the third test was a diagnostic while it's cold first. So we're going to have a quick look at that and talk about some of the readings, how important they are or they are not, before we go for a drive. And I just want to say, this is exactly why I would like to replace the injectors based on averages, not diagnostics, because there's a whole lot of people replacing injectors too soon sometimes. And you know, you read these things all over Facebook. People get worried and they want to take it in under warranty and get it done. Well, the worst thing you can do, because quite often you just got the wrong people working on the car and they're doing 1 or 2 injectors, and once they've been in there, it's a mess. You want to leave it alone, no fuel pipes coming off, then based on averages, you're going to be okay for ages. Anyway, as you can see, 89,000 Ks currently, so the injectors were, there's an invoice there anyway, I could dig it out, but let's say 10, 15,000 Ks ago. So they might have been done at, got a feeling it was just after 80,000, so could have been that most likely 40 or more likely 80,000 valve clearance check that caused the problem if there was one. But my concern is that he says, you know, it was knocky before and he changed the injectors and he's saying no change, which sort of tells me, oh no, so there was nothing wrong with it anyway. So there's a couple of cases here. There was a noise and it got fixed, but he's still worried about it, or there was no noise, he was just too worried about it, got it replaced, and he's still worried about it. So if that's the case, we need to put his mind at rest, which is what I'm trying to do with all of you, because it's not about the money. I don't want you to buy injectors off me if you don't need them, okay? Happy to help you out with all the right stuff, because it's part of the prevention to make sure you get all the right parts, right? Now, I just want to mention as well, so you've got new, you've got remanufactured, you've got other brands, you've got Chinese copies, and you've even got, I can tell you, there is suppliers in Australia with Australian names on their businesses and companies that either do it themselves or their suppliers from overseas are swapping parts out in boxes. I've found boxes, part numbers renamed, relabeled to other numbers. There is parts you can buy cheaper, made in other countries, and you can buy another little kit that goes with it to change things, and then you change the part number, and all of a sudden you've purchased that and that cheaper item, put it together, you put it in that box, you change the number, and you've got, it's not actually that item. Good way to make money though, you know, but it is dishonest, okay? With all our parts, we do not muck around. You get the right legitimate parts. The only thing that may be different is, as I said, we unpack, check all the parts and repack them so that they get to you safely. You'll notice when you get injectors, they're in sealed bags, they're brand new, there's no question about it. But yeah, the packaging might not look good, but it'll look safe, and that's what your goods will be when they arrive to you. We've never ever had a problem with anything getting broken or getting lost or missing late, maybe, because we do send a lot of stuff, and COVID-19, flight delays, and you know, people make mistakes every now and then and send it, you know, 1 in 100, 1 in 500, I don't know, but late, that is. Never gone missing, never damaged, okay? We take a lot of care. That's part of what you're paying for. We're good value for money. We don't want to be the cheapest, but from my comparison, we're certainly the cheapest on comparable. And, you know, you've got the bonus videos and customer service that best in the world. You're not going to get anywhere else, right? Now, let's get this engine started, right? Diagnostic on these, as I said, it's probably not going to show up any issue, and you don't really want to focus on any of the other readings. This is on a 0909 onwards, like a 150 Prado or Hilux, same vintage. All you're going to be looking at when it's cold is those feedback values, and just because they hover up and down 1s, 2s and up to near 3 doesn't mean there's a problem. The other thing we're going to do, we're going to have a listen to it. Let's have a listen. I'll stop talking for a minute. Let's have a look outside and have a listen, all right? So there's your odometer reading, right? That's it. Just go out here with the camera a little bit. To be quite honest, you know what I think I can hear? I think I can hear a leak, a one-cylinder leak. Perhaps the inlet manifold, or that's just bizarre. I can't hold the camera out there and give it a rev at the same time, unfortunately, with the fly-by-wire throttle business, you know, these days, but I certainly can't hear it from here. From in here, everything sounds absolutely Mickey Mouse, and we're going to watch that number 2. That's what we're watching. If it goes up and around the 2s, not usually a problem. If it goes beyond 3 and stays there for the whole duration of warming up, see, it's already, this is what they do, they go up and down. Let's just keep an eye on it, right? We've got a cold engine, it's clean revving. In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with the engine or the injectors. But I'm hearing a noise out there. You're not going to see much, but I'm going to whack that camera out there and try and have a listen, all right? Hear that? Okay, I'm hearing a noise like, just, I don't know, you know, what would normally be an exhaust manifold leak at one cylinder, a tiny little leak, like a, it's almost like a tick, it's like a, I don't know if you can hear it in the camera. I may do another video later specifically about that noise, so that's something we're going to have to chase up. Right now, you can see number 2, it's coming down. I just want to be really clear, guys, that is not a problem. Now let's go for a drive and have a listen to this thing, and I'll describe what we're listening for and when we're listening for it, if you know what I mean. Sit tight for a sec. Alright guys, so we're just around the corner. This is like 30 seconds later in a nice quiet back street where we can stop and start listening to these noises. Now, the first thing you got to think about is, do you listen to them with the window up or the window down? That's a good question. Let's start off with the window up. Now, I don't know if you could hear that rattle. There's a bit of a rattle there, which I wouldn't say is completely abnormal. Let's try it with the window down, halfway. Sounds fairly normal to me with the window down. window up again. Okay, so at the moment it's mainly listening, less talking. I'm going to get to describing what I believe, what's normal, what's not. So around the 1700 revs, I'm hearing a bit of a rattle that I'd say is fairly normal in many vehicles. 1650 right there at 55 k's an hour. We'll just slow down a bit. Pretty slow, but we'll just slow down a bit anyway. When we bring it up to about 2000, it goes away. If you put a bit more load on it and it goes away, generally you don't have a problem. Okay, it's just the software, it's a diesel, standard sort of rattle. So that's the ones you don't worry about. A lot of people worry about these things. Now, it can be a combined rattle. I won't talk too much. Window down again. That was window up for the last minute or so. We're going to go do some bush bashing now. Take this thing off road, up over some dirt hills and stuff. No, we're not. We're just going to turn around rather than take the vehicle down the dirt road. It was nice and spotlessly clean, like I said, pride and joy. But the problem is, it tried to rain last night and it put all the dusty air on the vehicle. And you know what happens then? It's a bada boom. It's filthy. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about the window down. If you've got a problem, it's going to be sometimes loud and reflect off buildings, other trucks, poles, fences and stuff like that. That's good, okay? If you don't hear anything like this, bring the revs to exactly where you heard the problem with the window up. I'm going, it sounds beautiful with the window down. This is the third time I've driven the car. It sounds beautiful with the window down, okay? I'm going to put the window up so hopefully you can hear me a bit better. I'm not sure how well this is going to turn out. It's what it is. I'm doing the best I can. Okay. I assume you can hear me okay. You normally do. Works pretty well. So window up now. Now, of course, the engine was cold before. When it's cold and warming up, you are going to get some rattles and noises and things like this. Pretty standard. Now, hey, guess what? They don't all. Some of them are quiet as a mouse and silent, and we love that. But it's not, you're not going to get that every time, okay? It just doesn't happen, right? Just a bit more driving, a little bit less talking for a minute. I think it's warmed up pretty well to a level now. I just want to mention the other thing I've been doing, of course, is monitoring the situation with the feedback values, and I haven't seen anything higher than that, you know, minus 2 point whatever at number 2. It's currently on minus 1.1. Of course, we're not touching any scantles, but we can take a look every now and then, just like looking at the radio. Let's go back up here again. As it warms up, it's going to quieten down, right? That's what's going to happen with a diesel engine. $16.50, pretty well the same sort of rattly noises as before. Okay, so I want to be really clear with this one. This is the third time I've driven it, so I don't need to hear it anymore. Now, I'm not sure in the video what noises you're going to pick up and whether you can hear that or not. So I'll sort of roughly describe it to you again and tell you what I'm concerned about and what I'm not. With this vehicle, I'm not concerned about what I hear. If we worried about those sorts of noises, half the time we'd be replacing injectors when we shouldn't. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean if you've done 200 or 300,000 Ks and it's got some noises, you shouldn't be replacing them. That's why I come back to replacing them on averages. And your best way to get an indication is watch all the videos, but also feel free to shoot me a text message. Hey Anth, it's Jim Beam here, whatever your name is, full name please, so I know who I'm communicating with, right? I've got a 2015 Hilux, it's done 120,000 Ks, seems to be running smooth. When do I need to replace the injectors? And I'll give you an indication based on if we think they're original and they haven't been touched. If you can tell me they definitely haven't been out and haven't been touched, that's a bonus. We're going to push them a bit longer. I want to help you. I want to push them out as long as we can. We don't want to do injectors unnecessarily. I'm telling you straight. I don't want to sell you injectors. I don't want to sell anyone injectors, right? I want to do videos saying, look at this, it's just awesome, the job was done right. Well, look, at the end of the day, they're wear and tear items. So look, we do, because if we don't, you get them somewhere else and you might end up with those dodgy Chinese copies. You might go for another brand, right? You might go, so I want to be really clear here. We're going to recommend only brand new, genuine Denso Toyota injectors, right? And this is the thing, it can be quite tricky. You're not sure what you're getting, right? So my absolute guarantee to you is you're only going to get genuine OEM parts, pretty well anything we supply, unless there's something that's not available, there's a shortage of something, and there's an aftermarket option that we go, yeah, there won't be a problem with that, or we've used it enough times. Let's say, for example, let's say it was a wheel bearing kit and we couldn't get the genuine seals, mate. There was a 3-month wait, and we know of a good quality brand seal, maybe a brand that Toyota use or have used, we may use that. If we've used some cheap options for people before in R&D, that's why we say, hey, we've got cheaper options, you can try it if you like. If it works okay for them, then we may, you know, that's kind of something we're going to do. Usually we can get what we want. Same thing, you know, with even things like water pumps. You know, we know the brands that Toyota use. I mean, we can buy everything directly from those brands also, okay? So quite often it's usually genuine Toyota parts to keep it simple, stupid, but sometimes, you know, and if we're paying a lot more to do that, then that's where we're going to go for the OEM supplier. And depending on availability, one or the other may not be available, but there is a number of different ways to get the right parts to you, and that's the guarantee. You will get the right parts unless there's a massive delay. They'll be genuine, and if we supply something that's not genuine, it'll either be OEM or of the same quality that we've approved for that use in that, you know, certainly not injectors. Oh yeah, we're going to flex it up a bit here this time, all right? Because we can. It's a four-wheel drive, isn't it? Right, so bada bing. I don't know what else to say about this one. I think we're just about done. We were going to talk about, maybe show you the other vehicle. Perhaps we'll add that on if we haven't already. If you got something out of this, please remember to give us the thumbs up and subscribe, turn that bell on. We've got heaps more awesome information coming your way. The tip I could give you, yeah, we've got a few pigeons sitting here in front of us, so we'll have a look at those, and there's another big look at them all flying over there in the distance. I think they might be corellas down there tearing up the ground, doing some rotary hoeing. Anyway, look, go and watch the diagnostic videos, understand that, have a search on my channel, you know, diesel noise, what's normal, what's not, diesel injector wear, when to replace injectors. Watch all those videos thoroughly so you get an understanding where I'm coming from, trying to help you work out when you've got a problem, when you haven't. A while ago I realized I can't repair all your vehicles. I can't supply the parts for everyone. It's only the people that listen, that do things when I ask them to, that are going to get that awesome service. As I said, Monday's parts day. Monday is the day. If you just need a bit of information, and you know, because you need to prepare the funds, save up, whatever, you know, you can shoot me a text anytime, but just understand I've got a lot of jobs to do. I'm on the tools as well at times, doing different things, and I can't always text back. So if I don't get back to you, don't think I don't care or whatever. I am busy, and I do, you know, 99% of people tell you how quick I get back to people and how good the service is, but the odd one, it's going to slip through. It does happen every now and then. Feel free to remind me, depending on your urgency level, whether it's later the same day, the next week, or the next month. Doesn't bother me, it's all good, guys. Just doing the best I can and keeping that quality level right up there. And we're just going to head back to the workshop. Let's fix up these clips and clamps. I'll have a final look at the diagnose. I'm looking at now. I'll just give you a little bit of feedback actually. Let's have a look at it actually. Alright, so I've been watching it just a couple of minutes, and number 2 was sitting around the minus 1.1, now the 0.8. Like I said, let's just go through the other readings, because, you know, if I get this in a position, we've got the sun, we got this, we got that, we've got a number of things causing problems for us here, but should have set this up first, shouldn't I? Oh well, that's not going to work. Let me move. I'll move over here, try and get out of the sun. Right. Let's have a look. So then you got the hand reflection. Rather have it like that, so then you can see nice and clearly. But I need the right hand to go with that. So we'll try and get like this. Here we go. Look, it's just useless, because see that. Okay, we'll just go up 1 because that's an important one, right? The injection volume. It's always going to be around 8 or 9 on a 150, right? The feedback volume is always going to be about that. The main injection pilot 1 and 2, they're always going to be about that. They're not going to change much. They really don't. Okay, so it's a waste of time to go looking at diagnostics, really. Okay, the timing's a little bit different to what they normally do, though. Okay. But not bad. Alright, okay. There's nothing really massive to see here. We'll go look at the load reading for you, because you know it's one of my favourites. Wow. Okay, so that tells us there's definitely some sort of issue going on with this engine, because the load is on 10%. That is bizarre. Okay, the load on a 150 Prado is normally going to be around the 15 mark. They can go as low as in the 12s or as high as in the 17s and 18s and be within the normal range. But this is bizarre, okay? Same with the timing. So there is something going on with this vehicle, even though to me it does drive really well. This is the thing, when you don't know where the injectors came from, you don't know how well the job was done. And I'm not really sure, to be quite honest. I'm going to tell you what's causing that load reading to go so low. So we're going to have to start looking at a few other things as well. That's bizarre. Okay, so we're going to start looking at some other readings as well. That's just throwing a spanner in the works. See, that's why I said it's always worth looking. It's always worth looking. So let's go back, because I'm a bit suspect on those. We have to polish up on my. So all this is good, right? It's all normal. All that's good. The timing, something going on there too, right? I'm gonna have to polish up my memory and have a look at some paperwork and work out exactly what that's meant to be, because I reckon that's. I'm not saying it's a big problem, but it's a little bit off what normal is. Okay, so. Might have to check around this engine bay too, because my suspicion is the load reading probably would have been all right before somebody worked on it. So let's check it out. We may come back to you in another video. This one's certainly going to be long enough. It's more about, you know, whether to worry about those noises or not. And the conclusion on this one is I didn't hear anything that I'd worry about, but by looking at the diagnostic, it is kind of saying that there may be something going on somewhere. So we're going to go and have a look around. If we get to a conclusion on it, it'll be yeah, we're going to have some feedback for you on some other videos too. So now's the time to go and watch everything that happened in the last month or two, because we're going to have some replies to those sorts of videos. Alright guys, thanks for watching. As I said, if you haven't already, subscribe, turn that bell on so you don't miss out on the next bit of info. Take it easy. See ya. Alright guys, just thought I'd add it onto this video because I think I've worked out a couple of things what are going on. The reason all the timing is out and the load and whatever, it's because it's had a remap, so disregard that. And this is the problem when you do a remap. When it comes to diagnostics, we don't know what's going on because everything's changed, right? So when you start changing fuel timing and the things they do with it remap, we don't know what the readings are, we don't know what those parameters should be anymore, if you know what I mean. So we really need all the data recorded from what it was before. Okay, that's what it is before, and then they do the remap, which I recommend against, and then we go, this is what it is now. Okay, and then you can monitor it from what it is, because you know we can't compare it to the normal data on a normal vehicle once it's had a remap. So two lots of bad news on this one. Well, there's quite a few actually. So it's his pride and joy, but he's obviously, this is the problem, mate. You've got to be careful, guys. You don't get sucked into all this marketing of buying things that connect on here. See, there's a hose comes over here. Wash loop, get, bro. And you know, you got your remap, whatever. Sometimes you got your chips. Sometimes you go to the wrong places, whatever. Yeah, it seemed a bit cheap. You know, we talked about the clips already. We're not going to go there again. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know because it threw me again. Happens quite regularly. Threw me for a minute there. A bit like somebody put a question up on the VIP group last night. It was really funny. He's putting the fan back on the water pump, right? And there was a gap of about 2 mil, and he's going, oh, it just won't close up. And I'm focused on that gap. What's going on there? That's so bizarre. And I didn't think outside the square for a minute, 10:30 at night. He didn't have the pulley on. If you don't have the pulley's the thickness that takes up that gap, right? And luckily one of the other VIPs, he was quick onto it. And must have, I don't know, got a good night's sleep or something anyway. But he goes, well, isn't there meant to be a pulley there? And I go, oh, yeah, that's what it is anyway. So we all had a laugh in the end. But, yeah, I don't know what that's got to do with it, but it was funny anyway. Anyway, I'm out of here, guys. Don't worry about the data with timing. Yep, we noticed it was out, but normally it's not out. You can't go by diagnostics. Can't even say it's worth a check. The feedback there on this one, not too bad. The noise, not too bad. The only issues I've got is what I can see. And during the video, and I didn't want to say too much, because again, I'm kind of like, that sounds like a leak. Tick, 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 tick. That noise, if you heard it, I'm sure you did, is typical of like an exhaust manifold leak. So when we used to work on other crappy cars and that, you'd have a leak at an exhaust manifold, say like here, and where one of the ports is leaking, it'd make it like that tick, tick, tick kind of sounds. It's the pressure, the exhaust leaking out. It could be somewhere else on this engine. They've had the manifold off. It could be the inlet side. It could be on the intake system. So now that I've got a helper here, we're trying to listen to it, and with the engine warm, it seems to have gone away. So we're going to have to try and trace that when the engine's cold, because I don't believe that's normal. So the only issue we're left with is, well, there's quite a few. It's got a remap. Get rid of that dirty thumb. It's got a remap. It's got a catch can. It's got plugs and clamps and that not plugged in, and it seems to have some sort of leak at the intake or exhaust system somewhere, which I'm quite unfamiliar with. I haven't noticed or heard that on one of these before, and I'll say it's most likely going to be to do with the installation job and the work that's been done, because you can see from the outside. So what are we going to find further in? That'll be another video, certainly. I just added this on because I didn't want to leave it open-ended, seeing as minutes later I went, oh, that's right, this has had a remap. And now I'm 99% sure about that. If I'm wrong about that, I'll make another video. When I mention, I'll say, look, you know. So anyway, we're going to tidy this thing up. Thanks for watching, guys. We're out of here. See ya.